In tonight's video, I would like to share something with you that I found a couple weeks ago, and I've started to put some puzzle pieces together, and I think you're going to find it pretty interesting. Now, looking at South America and the Caribbean, from this perspective, you can see things that you don't normally see from the other perspective, the normal one that orients North America above South America. Down here, when you look at where the Amazon River comes into Brazil, you can see this faint line track that goes, of course, across the continent. But then, strangely, when you look out off the coast of Peru, you can almost see where it continues. That the river, of course, starts here in Peru and flows through Brazil. But if you trace this area of the ocean floor, it makes this almost perfect curve. And there's a very strange feature in this intermediate area between the two, and I'd like to share that with you. Now, the original find that I've discovered was out here in the middle of nowhere. There were these strange, oddly colored, I guess, anomalies. And you could only see them in certain filters, in certain years. And this is 2000, I believe it's the 2009. You would see these bright blue, I mean really stark bright blue areas, anomalies. And they would coincide with these bright green ones. Now, by themselves, not a big deal. I didn't think much of them at the time. But the more I found them, and the more I started to line them up, they started to coalesce and come together. Like right here, for example. Here's the next green one, and the next blue one. They both simultaneously make a right turn to their next destination, which, believe it or not, is right on top of each other. Which in and of itself is kind of strange. Now, I haven't completed this. I'm going to make this look a lot better in the future. But do you see these three squares that I have lined out? In the 2010 layer, if I can get back to it, for some reason, the imagery changes to where this is all very washed out. It's almost as if they're looking for something, and they want to wash out all of the other color so that anything that they're looking for would show up. And there's three main search areas, here, here, and here. Now here's where it gets strange. These green and blue markers, for whatever you want to call them, continue in a straight line, alternating side and path, but in a very predictable pattern. And I've outlined a whole bunch of them. Like this one here is a blue one, this one's a green one. And they continue to follow this very predictable pattern. Sometimes you'll just see the blue ones, sometimes you'll just see the green ones. And sometimes they'll appear together again. And I'm just getting the angle on the camera right here to show you this. See, here it looks like they're on top of each other. But the main point of this is that they arrive at some place we've been before. It's this area called Polo Norte, Brazil. Now, it's very strange to me that out in the middle of the Brazilian rainforest, there would be an area referred to, and I didn't name it this. You can look this up for yourself on Google Earth Pro or Google Earth Web, anywhere else. This is the name of the region, Polo Norte, which of course translates into North Pole. And it lines up with this thing that I referred to earlier in the video. This strange curved crack that starts way out here and then almost becomes, literally becomes, the Amazon River. Deepest, widest river in the whole world by far. And I think it's tied with the Amazon for being the longest. Now, here's the part, here's where things really get weird. There's a tool on the internet that you can find. It's called a map tunneling tool. And if you draw a line straight through the globe, this is Polo Norte here on the left. If you were to take a line and draw it right through, it would come out just off the coast of Vietnam in this region right here. Now, what makes that strange is this. This region right here is known as the Spratly Islands. This is where China is building artificial military bases, literally as fast as it is humanly possible to do. Now, on top of that, in this region, right here, Indonesia, there have been a lot of earthquakes in the last few years. And this is a map of them. Now, here's the strange part. What we were just looking at, do you see this empty part right here? No earthquakes here. But look at the ring of earthquakes around it. This giant black dot, this is the earthquake from Christmas Day 2004 that killed 250,000 people. For some strange reason, for some strange reason, China is building artificial islands in an area surrounded by earthquakes that, if you would draw a line straight through the globe, ends up at some place called Polo Norte, or North Pole, Brazil. Which would mean that this would eventually be, of course, the South Pole. It makes me wonder, do they know about the pole flip that's coming, and have they figured this out? Now, there's this video that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It has to do with spinning bodies in 0G, when they have different moments of inertia depending on what axis they're spinning on. I'd like to show this real quick, just so people can understand what happens. Watch what happens when the astronaut spins the handle. And of course I have this slowed down to 1/4. See how by itself it flips? It has to do with that, what they call intermediate axis theorem is what it's called. There's, of course, any three-dimensional body has 3 different axes it can spin on. The one with the intermediate moment of inertia, the one in between the two, the high moment and the low moment, will not spin in a stable way. Now, many of you are probably asking, well, wait a minute, hold on. The Earth is not a T-handle. Well, yes, it is, actually. Veritasium tried to debunk this, but they failed to realize that the Earth is not just the Earth. The Earth is the Earth-Moon system. This is our center of gravity right here, between the Moon and the Earth. And as we spin like a T-handle does. And I've tried to draw that here. This would be the T-handle. So as the Moon spins around the Earth, just like you saw in the video, over time, this is what would cause the flip. literally the flip of the Earth the other way. Now, I don't think this is the first time it's happened. And I honestly believe that the reason that place is called Polo Norte is because there's people who have figured this out. And they realize where it's going to go back to. That we look at the Earth now and we see it as normal just because it's what we've always seen. But this crack right here that goes right through and what would be the river here, let me show you something at our current North Pole. You see, at our current North Pole, we have the exact same thing. See this giant crack that goes right through the North Pole? Exact same thing in South America right now. This is probably evidence of the last shift. So it explains a lot. Explains why the Chinese are so interested in creating land where there is none, out in the middle of that waterway between Vietnam and Indonesia. And it also explains, when you look at this region, there's a lot of these little lit up, those little anomalies are almost like markers. And I'm going to do a future video where I show these even better. There's dozens of them out here that are either bright blue or bright green. And when you look in the region, Brazil is like crazy building toward this region. They're trying to settle it. Because whatever countries would control the poles would control the New World. And this is two of the major players in BRICS. Brazil, and of course Russia, India, China, and then South Africa. So I think this is just another piece of the puzzle. That there is a plan. Because they know something. This line, this crack right here that you can see, goes right through this region, right through Polo Norte. And this river is just part of that crack. And I just wanted to share that with you guys. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.